Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. Noah, I'll be honest, this is a very interesting episode for me. Why don't you tell the people what we're talking about?
Today we were talking about Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2.
Yep, that's
Um,
it.
well, yeah, I mean, if you want me to just
Yep.
like do a basic little thing about the game.
Yeah, this is
Star
our
Wars, yeah, okay.
I was gonna say this is our fourth Star Wars episode, I believe.
Okay. Feels
So
like
we are
we've
big
had so
Star Wars
many.
fans. Yeah, well, I mean,
We do
even
have a lot of
it's our
videos on the YouTube channel though.
yeah,
Like
it's
a third of our
yeah,
episodes.
yeah. Well, it's our fourth Star Wars episode, but even it's our fifth Star Wars game because we talked about two Star Wars games in one episode.
Which
Like in
ones
our
were
very
those? The
it was our
Lego
the very first
Complete.
time. No, well, I guess if one go it's six games because we talked about our very first Star Wars episode we did. Remember we had a special guest, a friend of mine, Dylan. We talked about Jedi Fallen Order, and then for our indie bit for that episode, we did Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy.
Oh, right, I forgot. I
Yeah,
forgot about the
yeah, and
indie
then we've
bit.
talked about Force Unleashed, the Lego games, and yeah, and then this Force Unleashed 2 is our fourth episode about Star Wars.
Very exciting. So anyway, this Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2 came off the heels of the huge success that was Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, right? Introducing this brand new or original story with an original character who was a Sith apprentice to Darth Vader. It was interesting that they came out with a direct sequel, first of all, because at the end of the last game, Good or Bad Choice, I'm pretty sure the character didn't make it.
Well, in the bad choice, he died. He lives. Sorry, he
He
lives.
does live. Okay, that's how
Yes.
they. Is that the one with the DLC spinoff?
Yeah, like Ultimate Sith Edition has all
Yeah. Okay.
those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The bad ending has two, I think, DLC missions. But I mean, you're right. The good ending, which is
It
the
was
considered
gray
the
at
canonical
best.
ending, the good ending, which is the canonical ending, he dies, and that is what this game continues on.
Exactly. So the first question they had to answer when introducing this game that revealed we were playing as Galen Merrick Starkiller again and continuing his story. What they did was, I mean, I guess we'll get into it, but we'll talk about how they answered that question. But all in all, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2 is a good enough sequel. I would consider the story to be a little lackluster compared to the first. However, the action and combat I thought were all well improved upon. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, it's funny, Noah. This game has, I feel like it's a very special game in my gaming history because, and this is true, this is the first game that I played that I can remember not liking, which is crazy, I know. Because there are a lot of games we played that are historically, critically not looked upon favorably, like Sonic the Hedgehog '06. We played, but when you look at a game like that that is universally considered bad, I liked it when we played '06. We were younger, so obviously that is, I guess a bit of a skew to our opinion of it. But I remember liking that game and enjoying it. When I played it initially, other than the weird story problems, I didn't have any issues with it. And there are other kind of similarly quote unquote bad games that playing as a kid we enjoyed because we just didn't have the I guess finer palette for what games could be when we were younger. And this was like as far as back as I can remember, the earliest game I can remember where I legitimately like I played it and I finished it and I was like I just did not like that. And I think I am excited to talk to you about the game with you because I want to kind of get deeper into that of like why, you know?
Right.
Exactly. Anyway, well, we're gonna go ahead and start off here with the first thing, which is the setting. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Do you get it, Noah? Because this is the Star Wars thing.
No, I've never heard that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought when I was making this document, I typed that in and I thought, man, that's very clever of me to put that in the setting because, that
Yeah, no, that's
technically
funny.
is a description of the setting.
You should have had a
I'm up.
ridiculously large scroll of BS.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Next Star Wars episode, I'll do that. But this is the first thing actually I did want to say. In terms of one thing I did not like about this game. This game takes place throughout a few planets, and one ship in the Star Wars universe. There are 4 locations in this entire game, which is barely half of the locations in the first game.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
And if you count DLC, it actually makes it an even half because there is, we'll talk later, a DLC for this game which adds 1 location, giving you 5. The first game, The Force Unleashed, with DLC has a total of 10 locations. And in the main story, you visit 3 of those locations twice. And I'm pretty sure, like, different areas you explore. It might be the same areas, but I think there are at least some differences to make it, you're not just running through the exact same level again. So, including repeats, that's 13 different areas you visit. And
Don't
yeah,
you
that's
repeat in this game though?
no, no. Well, I
I'm
yes,
shocked.
I guess technically the first area is you escaping Camino. So let's just list the planets. I'm going to list the locations real quick first. So you have Camino, you have the planet Cato Nemoidia, Dagobah, and then Salvation, which is a giant medical ship. You escape Camino, you go to Cato Nemoidia, you go to Dagobah, you go to the Salvation, then you go back to Camino for the end of the game.
Got it.
So Camino does repeat. So I guess again, counting numbers, that would, I guess, in the base game be 5. Yeah, it's just not a lot. Like, yes, the levels are bigger, I think, but it's very simple. And even in Dagobah, I could not find in my research if you actually played there or if that was more just a cutscene transition area. In my very small amount of research, I could not find that, which
That's
is
weird.
kind of a point of something we'll talk about later when we get to version differences. But that's the yeah, those are the only locations, and yeah, it is just kind of disappointing.
Yeah, not even just the low number of them, but the locations themselves like aren't even the most notable in Star Wars lore.
You're you're correct, and 2 of them are well seen locations. I feel like being Camino and Dagobah,
Yeah, like
like well
overrated.
popular. Yeah, compare that to the
Those two
first game.
planets, especially, like they have nothing.
Yes.
Dagobah
Yep.
had Yoda, and then when he's
Yep.
not there, the planet's not special. And
Yeah.
then Camino has the clone factory, and when that's
Yes.
not going on, it's not
Yes.
special.
Correct. Yeah, and then it's compare it again to, I guess, the Force Unleashed. You go to a lot of new planets. Like that's what I want to see with Star Wars games, especially ones that kind of have this like very like kind of long levels exploring these planets in detail. Is new planets we don't see much. Like for example, the first game you go to Felucia, which I guess was technically in other stuff beforehand. Like it was in the movies for all of 20 seconds. But that's it in terms of the movies. And unless you played, say the Battlefront games, or another games where the planets existed, like there's nothing known about that planet. Even though it is a planet that already exists, it is a new area, along with other planets that are straight up just new planets.
Yeah, I really hope they do that for Fallen Order, or excuse me, Jedi Survivor Fallen Order
Yeah, yeah.
sequel.
I mean, look at that. I mean, look at Jedi Fallen Order. There were what 5, I think, planets you explored, maybe 6. Um, and you had Kashyyyk and uh, Dathomir, which are
Great
both
range already. Yeah.
yes. And then you look at Kashyyyk again. If you're looking at the straight movies, it's not explored that much at all. And if you're looking at what's that? Dathomir as well. That's only explored in the Clone Wars TV show. So again, very high likelihood you have people that haven't experienced those planets, especially like I never watched the Clone Wars past season 2. So I did not know anything about Dathomir or the Night Sisters or the Night Brothers when I played Jedi Fallen Order. Noah, you had to explain what those were to me.
Yeah, as a
Because I
longtime Star Wars fan, I thought it was really cool to have Dathomir fully explorable. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
the Sith history here.
yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. But that's again, that's just one kind of issue I had with this game is even when I started writing this with this document, I wrote, oh, there are many planets to explore, and then I was like, okay, let me look up all the planets so I can make a list here. And I was like, oh, it's only like 3 or 4. That's man, I guess I got to change that wording, which I changed it to a few because it's just not a lot. Anyway, now we will move on to the story.
Woo.
At an Imperial facility on the planet Camino, Darth Vader observes the training of a clone of his former apprentice, Starkiller. The clone experiences various memories and visions of Starkiller's life and is unable to strike down a droid impersonating Starkiller's love interest, Juno Eclipse. Vader labels the clone a failure in his quest to create a perfect apprentice, and the clone remembers Vader's betrayal of Starkiller. Realizing Vader will try to have him killed as well, he makes his escape. Stealing Vader's TIE fighter, the clone leaves in an attempt to understand his identity and escape Vader's influence. Meanwhile, Vader hires the bounty hunter Boba Fett to capture Juno Eclipse to lure the clone back to him.
Time out.
Time out?
This is something I have a problem with this game. This is my biggest issue. The fact that he is a clone doesn't bother me, but I have read multiple Star Wars books that say somebody's talking about the clone army and they're like, well, why don't we just make a clone army of Jedi? And they immediately shut that down with force powers can't be cloned. Like, you can clone a Jedi, but they won't have an affinity for the force. Obviously, that's a small thing to care about, but if you can clone people and have them be just as powerful as the original, then why wasn't the Emperor cloning himself or Darth Vader? It's just too much going on.
I mean, you say that, but the Emperor did that.
Those movies are non-canon to me.
Okay. Yeah, and all his clones definitely had an affinity for the Force, so really that whole argument is just null and void. But this game is not canon, and the movies are, so they don't exist in the same canon either way. I just didn't like the idea of a clone to begin with. I think it's like a real cop out.
It's a bad move.
For
bad writing.
I feel like it's certainly The Force Unleashed was meant to be a standalone game, and boy, did it exceed their expectations on how well it performed. And they were trying to cash in with a sequel, and they were like, well, shit, we killed the guy. What do we do? We killed the guy, and someone was just like, clone, and that's it. And that's all they had to do. So that's why I have an issue with the clone thing. I think it's just like, I don't know, make a new character or something. Like you could have, all the other characters returning and just a new main character. Who knows? Anyway, continuing on. Starkiller arrives on the Imperial-controlled planet Cato Nemoidia to rescue Rom Kota, the original Starkiller's blind Jedi mentor, who is being forced to fight in a gladiatorial arena by the planet's ruler, Baron Marillion Tarko. Tarko quickly becomes distrustful of Starkiller and orders his men to kill Starkiller. Starkiller fights his way through the Imperial forces to reach Kota, where Tarko unleashes a gargantuan beast, the Gorog, to kill both men. The Gorog escapes its restraints and destroys the arena, eating Tarko and grabbing Kota before falling off the platform. Starkiller kills the Gorog in freefall and saves Kota, while the latter calls in the Rogue Shadow, the original Starkiller's ship, to rescue the pair. Despite the clone's insistence that he is not the real Starkiller and wants nothing to do with the war, Kota asserts that Jedi can't be cloned and invites him to join the Rebel Alliance. So it's exactly what you said.
Exactly what I said.
Exactly what you said. Declining, Starkiller drops Kota off at the nearest spaceport and travels to Dagobah, where he meets Jedi Grandmaster Yoda and enters a cave that is strong with the dark side. Starkiller sees a vision of Juno in peril aboard her medical frigate Salvation and leaves to rescue her. We'll go ahead and pause again. Exactly what you said, which also I think is funny. We'll I guess talk about that when we get to the end here.
Yes, and you should know a thing or two about that if you had been reading Darth Plagueis.
About cloning Force users?
I think they talk about it in that.
Sorry, I have not read it yet. I will get on that. Starkiller boards the Salvation with Kota, who reveals that the Rebel Alliance has continued to grow in his absence, but that its leadership has become reluctant to attack any major Imperial targets out of fear that their fleet will be destroyed, and provides the General with information that could help the Alliance take Camino. The ship soon comes under attack, and both Jedi race to the bridge, only to find Juno missing. The original Starkiller's training droid Proxy reveals that experimental Imperial forces led by Fett have infiltrated the ship and captured Juno. Starkiller locates Juno but is too late to stop Fett, leaving with her and realizes Vader's plot to lure him back to Kamino. After eliminating the Imperial forces aboard the Salvation, Starkiller convinces Coda to order an all-out assault of Kamino. The rebels arrive at Kamino but are met by the Imperial fleet, who have activated a defensive shield around the planet. Starkiller tells Coda to order an evacuation and crashes the Salvation through the shield. While Coda and his men stage a ground assault, Starkiller confronts Vader, who reveals and commands numerous failed Starkiller clones. Starkiller eliminates the clones and battles Vader to a stalemate. Vader reveals a detained Juno, threatening her life to force Starkiller to surrender and orders him to kill the rebels. Juno attempts to attack Vader with Starkiller's discarded lightsaber, but Vader uses the Force to hurl her out a window onto the ground below, seemingly killing her. Enraged, Starkiller unleashes the full extent of his powers to defeat Vader, subduing him with Force lightning, just as Coda and his men arrive. Vader tries to goad Starkiller into killing him, but Coda reasons that they need him alive to reveal the Empire's secrets before he can be placed on trial and executed. At this point, the player is given a choice between sparing Vader, the light side, or killing Vader, the dark side. Oh boy. If the player chooses the light side, Starkiller spares Vader, who is arrested by the Rebel Alliance. Starkiller runs over to Juno and mourns her apparent death, but she unexpectedly revives and kisses him. Later, Princess Leia Organa makes contact with Juno and Coda and congratulates them for their actions, claiming that Vader's capture marks an important victory for the Alliance. While imprisoned aboard the Rogue Shadow, Vader is confronted by Starkiller, who tells him that by making a choice of his own free will to spare him, he is free of the Dark Lord's influence. Vader responds that as long as Juno lives, he will always have control over Starkiller. The game ends with Starkiller and Juno preparing to travel to hyperspace to transport Vader to Dantooine, unaware of Fett following them. Do you like that little Dantooine reference there?
I was just impressed that you knew how to pronounce it correctly.
Oh, okay. Well, it's the planet that Leia gives up in A New Hope.
Really?
Yeah, when they're threatening to blow up Alderaan, and they ask her where the location of the rebel base is, she says Dantooine. It's on Dantooine.
That's messed up.
Yeah, and then they blow up the planet anyway. What a bunch of evil guys. Anyway, if the player chooses the dark side, Starkiller attempts to kill Vader but is impaled from behind by a shrouded figure. After pushing Coda, his men, and Proxy into the ocean with the Force, the figure reveals itself as a dark Starkiller clone, while Vader explains to the dying Starkiller that he lied about not being able to perfect the cloning process. After gazing at Juno's corpse, Starkiller succumbs to his wounds and dies. Vader orders his apprentice to take Starkiller's ship and hunt down the leaders of the Rebel Alliance. The Dark Apprentice looks at Juno's corpse and moves on, uncaring. The game ends with the Dark Apprentice using the Rogue Shadow to enter hyperspace to follow his orders.
The endings kind of
And that's the
mirror.
story.
Yes, the endings kind of mirror the endings of the last game,
Yeah,
where
pretty much.
one of them is it leads to Starkiller's death, and the other one, he's alive. But in the first game, I think they probably thought a lot of people would pick the bad ending.
I don't know. I don't know what they
I mean,
thought.
I picked the bad ending first in both games because I wanted to be a Sith, but they tricked us
Yep.
into playing as a Jedi anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I think the bad ending in Force Unleashed 2 is one of the worst endings to any game I've ever played. Because in say the Force Unleashed, the endings make sense. In the good ending, he sacrifices himself for the rebel cause, which that's a good guy thing. In the bad ending, he becomes horribly scarred, has to wear armor kind of like Vader, and becomes the Emperor's new apprentice. So it's like he's still bad. Oh, and like all of the rebel leaders die. That makes sense.
Right.
But in this one, in the bad ending, it's just like, oh, psych, there's another clone, and he killed you now, so he's actually the better
Right.
clone.
He's
And
the
you're
bad
like, yeah, and you're like, what? Just because even in the good, if you pick the good ending, as Coda had said, there's no cloning a Force user. So then you're like, oh, maybe this is just Starkiller, and
somehow.
he lost his memory. He didn't die at the end of the first game. He lost his memory. He's not a clone. That's just, Vader is lying to him about that. Like
Right.
you are playing as the original. And it's never really confirmed, but I guess it does leave it up in the air of you are Stark, like he's just alive. You are just him. And the bad ending is really like, oh no, he was just a clone, and this guy's also a clone, and now you're dead.
Right, you have no control and you never did.
Yeah,
Stupid.
really stupid. It also, to me, kind of angered me because where's that clone in the good ending? It again, if you look at the good ending of the first game, you have Darth Vader, and like they're very similar
Yeah,
with how they end, with how they play out, how depending on what you pick. But in this, it's like either Vader is arrested and literally nothing happens, or oh hey, there's another clone here, and it's like, well, why didn't he exist in that other ending? Like, why didn't you have to maybe fight the clone and kill that clone, and then that proves that you're the best Starkiller and you win. It's
right.
it's really weird how it very much just comes out of nowhere. And also, it's just a very short story. I think you had mentioned earlier that that was an issue you had with the game, is it's short.
Yeah, it's definitely not long. They should have just went with a whole nother character, like we said at the
Yep,
beginning, like an
yep,
another
yep,
original story.
yep, yep. I also, probably my biggest issue with the story is the fact that it is very short, because the first game is decently long. I remember us playing that, story. It felt like it is like the first time we played it. It felt like it went on forever. Just we just because of when we played it. But then I remember playing this game and we beat it in like one or two sittings, and it was just like, oh, that's it. Like I didn't expect it to end so soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's the
Um,
story.
that's the
Um,
story. Noah, get us into the gameplay.
so we're gonna talk about the gameplay. Um, the gameplay of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2 is much like the original. The main combat is based off the character's lightsaber, and in this game, it's lightsabers, using one attack button to do basically a simple combo, aerial attacks, ground attacks, things like that, combined with force powers. And that's pretty much the entirety of the combat. It's simple in idea, but it's one of those where it's repetitive throughout the game, but it's fun, and the game's not too long, so that also adds to the fact that it doesn't grow tiresome too fast. One of the
Yep.
cool aspects of, like I said, the Force Unleashed 2 gives the player the ability to dual wield lightsabers, something that was not in the first game. This is another mirror to the first Jedi Fallen Order game that did not have dual wielding lightsabers, and fans were upset about that. I was one of those fans.
Well, you did have the double bladed lightsaber. I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
I used that the whole game, but I did
Absolutely.
want to be able to dual wield, and you cannot.
Well, see, here's the thing. Again, something that I don't know if it's necessarily a complaint I have with the game, but the dual wielding lightsabers is entirely a cosmetic thing. The combat does not play out any differently than the first game at all. It's more like, it's the same combos, same button mashing, everything, but now you're holding two lightsabers instead of one, which again, it's like it's fine because it's not like you're switching back. You can switch back and forth between using one and two lightsabers. It's like, you only have the one combat system, which is actually something that I really hope uh, Jedi Survivor does, is the fact that I'm sure you can use a single blade, double-sided, and two separate blades, which is, I hope that they all feel different. Because in the first game, using one lightsaber, like with the one single blade, and using the double bladed, very different feeling. Which is a huge compliment for that game. A huge plus is the fact that they don't feel the exact same. They actually, the double bladed, your moves are slower. They're more, you know what I mean? No, like I can't think of a good word to
Yeah,
describe
no,
that. Yeah.
it's the it's I think it's kind of based off of actual weaponry
Yes.
because the weight of the different attacks and the speed and the method they would
Yes.
attack, it
Yep.
was really
Yep.
nicely done.
I found myself many times in combat switching back and forth because when you have the single blade, your attacks are lighter, faster. You get faster combos out. But with the double-sided blades, they were slower, heavier. I found different opponents. I just had better um chances of beating them if I was using the double blade versus the single blade. And so I'm hoping that when they add two separate blades, they avoid it being just the single blade, but you're now holding two, kind of cosmetic, like Force
Yeah,
Unleashed 2 does.
absolutely. I was gonna say
Yeah.
something else about gameplay, which was I was just going to describe the basis. It's kind of like those old beat 'em ups, like your God of War, Devil May Cry, what have you, where
Yep.
you're going through linear paths
Hack and
and
slash.
just a hack and slash, where you're just tearing through enemies on a linear path until you get to your objective and complete it or kill whatever you were supposed to. Oh, Jaden, talk about the saber crystals.
The saber crystals. So one, just again, cool note, cosmetic, but I mean, sort of, but cool. Your two blades can actually be different colors. This is pretty
Super
cool
sweet.
because super sweet. This is cool because other than Ayla Sakura in Battlefront 2, who has a blue and a green, most times when you see dual wielding, it's just one.
There's
You know,
one
they're
other
both always the
character.
same color. What?
You should know this. There's one other really famous character who has two different colored lightsabers.
Oh, Revan.
No, but yes.
Oh,
This one's closer to mainstream. It's Ahsoka.
she does?
Yeah, when Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, she has, I think for most of it, she has one blue, one green.
Well, remember, I didn't watch the Clone Wars past season 2. I never saw her use two. Well, that I in like the live action show, she has like the two white blades.
Yeah, that's like because it takes place after Rebels, after she left the Jedi Order and became a gray Jedi and stuff.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
no, I
whole
know
different
that.
thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't know she ever used two different colors. Actually, that's okay. Yeah, that's cool. But most of the time when they use when they use two sabers, it's two of the same color. I guess Anakin in Episode 2 had two different colors, but that was for one fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting into semantics now. Just you can do that. But saber crystals in Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2, they aren't just a cosmetic thing. They not only change the color of your blade, but they provide bonuses as well. For example, I'll give you 3 examples here. Red increases your attack power, green increases health drops from enemies, and blue increases force power drops from enemies. And all of them do different things. And because you can have 2 different colors, you can combo them. You could have a red and a green, so you do more damage and enemies drop more health. You could have just 2 reds to just increase your damage output as much as possible. So that is there is a bit of strategy to how you what saber crystals you use, which I think is cool rather than just having it be cosmetic. Just adds an extra layer to it.
Did they still have sabers with unstable crystals in this game?
Yes, I don't think was unstable the word for it back then.
I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, you have like repeat colors that are, that kind of the Kylo Ren unstable kind of power. Yes, that is a thing. No, why don't you list all the colors?
Alrighty, so the colors are orange, green, blue, red, purple, dark pink, pinkish, faded pink, faded green, white, black, and yellow.
Yes, I did get all of these colors from a guide looking up like the locations
No,
of
I
them.
remember, yeah. There's definitely a lot of pinkish. Really
Well,
cool.
I'm
This
just saying
is
I don't think pinkish is probably the official term for it. It's just
no,
what the
God,
guy in the
but
guide put it as.
yeah, that works for me.
That'd be funny though.
Um, but they're all pinkish, that's what I'm saying. This is the second most lightsaber colors in a game, I think, next to the Jedi Academy games. I'd have to double check that, but this could
No,
be
I think this is number 1. I think the Force Unleashed
okay.
is
Yeah,
number 1
there we go.
in
Well,
Star
it's
Wars
really
lightsaber
cool, and
colors.
the white and black ones really make it stand apart. Usually, they're not included.
Yes.
I
And
love
even one
just
thing that
seeing
helps
the
the
pink
Force
what color
Unleashed.
my lightsaber is, though.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's the best. It's the best part of any Star Wars game is picking your lightsaber color. Yeah, those are the saber. Those are the lightsaber colors.
Yes, this can't be called the Force Unleashed without unleashing the Force.
That is very clever, Noah.
Thank you.
So why did you why did you talk about force powers?
Well, okay, I was gonna have you talk about it. Just because I
Right.
didn't know exactly what repulse was.
Oh, that's actually very very simple. So your force powers, you have force push, very classic. Force lightning, also classic. Force grip, also classic. The mind trick, which is new to Force Unleashed 2. The saber throw or sabers throw, and repulse. And if you want to know what repulse is, Noah, because you don't know, it's basically just a stronger force push.
Oh, okay. Is it the one that goes all around him in like the 360, like a ball? No, is that the thing?
Yes,
Okay.
maybe.
Also, how does mind trick work?
Well, it's very simple. You do it on an enemy, and then they kill themselves.
Well, that is quite simple. Is grip free grip in this
Or they
game?
fight on your side. What? What'd you say?
Is grip free grip in this game?
Pre-grip?
Like when you grab something, can you move it around up and down
Yes,
and throw
yes,
it? Okay,
yes, 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 you can. Yeah, it's just picking up objects or people.
really
Yep,
cool.
yep. Yeah, those are your force powers. Each force power, as well as your just kind of classic, your just lightsaber, can be upgraded to a maximum of 3 levels using experience points. Yeah, that's it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, these are the basic array of force powers, and I really can't think of any that are super important that are missing.
I do think adding the mind trick was cool. It's cool to have be able to get enemies to fight on your side. And I will say one thing I do think that the Force Unleashed 2 does better than probably most other Star Wars games is the Force powers. You have a lot of them, and I feel like they're what's the word? They're very I guess I can't think of the word, but let me explain a
What, like
comparison here.
overpowered?
No, let me explain it in a comparison here. Compared to Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. Because Jedi Knight Jedi Academy has more force powers and I think arguably better force powers if you just compared like it has, healing and you can, speed and shield stuff that you can't get in this. But I feel like especially if you're looking from like a damage perspective, the force powers in Jedi Academy I think get expended too quickly and take too long to recharge.
Yes, other Star Wars games use it where it's like it's lightsaber first, force powers are to like help with the fight. It's
Yes.
not like something you use as a combat mechanic, but the Force Unleashed, both games made the force powers the main thing, and only when force is out or something like that are you actually using your lightsaber. Like you, I always felt like I was using force powers more than the lightsaber.
See, I think one thing that especially kind of older Star Wars games don't do, which I think it just comes from the overall hype that is just the lightsaber as a weapon, is like you said, lightsabers first and force powers are second, which also I think doesn't work as well for a game like Jedi Academy because there literally is no rhyme or reason to lightsaber battles in that game.
It's
I can,
actually deep, and there's
oh, I
like
don't know. I just
competitive gameplay to it.
That is insane to me because when I played the Jedi Academy, I was button mashing and I would like, you could save whenever you wanted. So I would save right before a fight. And I would just run in mashing the buttons and whoever lived, lived. And that was it. I had no strategy to playing through that game.
Me too, me too. I think
Um,
it's more for like PC.
yeah, which I think, is why I think, like Fallen Order, obviously the lightsaber combat is much more refined and it's very good. But one thing that I think Force Unleashed and Fallen Order do about the same well is I think also a greater Star Wars thing that is lost in a lot of those early games is how important force powers are to a fight. Like it's a tool that Jedi and Sith alike both have that when it comes to fighting, they will use to gain an advantage if they can. You have to like one of the things I loved about, Darth Bane, you have to constantly be thinking about that and, having a force shield around yourself because if your opponent unleashes a force attack and you aren't prepared for it, you will die. And I feel like implementing force into combat is done very well in Force Unleashed and very well in Fallen Order. But comparing the two, the Force Unleashed has more and better force powers because you have things like lightning, which is not in Fallen Order.
Lightning is so cool.
Yeah. So again, I mean, the force powers are cool. They did, as I read, when they were developing this game, they wanted to have more force powers, and they, wanted the force powers to be more prevalent than they are in the Force Unleashed. And I think that is something they succeed with. I think the force powers in this game are top notch.
Alrighty, so let's move on to traversal.
Yes, traversal.
Um,
Traversal in this game very simple.
yes, extremely simple. It's just like I said, the linear levels with small rooms for exploration. There's some basic platforming, dashing,
Yeah. I mean, it's like you
that kind
said,
of
this
stuff.
is The Force Unleashed, and this applies to both games, which again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It is dictionary definition of hack and slash gameplay. Like look at, God of War and Force Unleashed, or like Dante's Inferno, all very similar where you're running through these areas, you might have to make a few jumps, but they're all pretty basic. Might be some, slight puzzle solving, and it's basically, just to get you to the next room where you have to fight waves of enemies.
Absolutely.
Which again is not bad at all. It's just what, especially in this time period, that's what the genre was, and I do think that Force
Right.
Unleashed did that well.
Yes, but we have been elevated now.
Um, so now move on to our additional gameplay mechanics. Noah, talk about the trials.
All right, so the trials are returning from the first game. They test your abilities with the game mechanics. Trials include defeating all enemies in a time limit, using certain combos in a time limit, or reaching the end of a platforming course as fast as possible, etc., etc. They're pretty basic. Not
Yeah,
much to be said about them.
yeah. I mean, again, I feel again, I'm just
Like
noticing
all
as we're
those
recording
other
this
games
episode.
that
Yeah,
have this
yeah, I
mechanic
feel
also.
absolutely is like, especially God of War. I'm realizing how similar this game is to that. Which, I mean, anyway, yeah, that's trials. They're basic. You have your you can complete them. Different medals of bronze, silver, gold. Depending on how well you do. Yeah, that's the trials. Anyway, collectibles. Move on to collectibles. This game has holocrons. Collected holocrons increase your health, force power, or provide you with a new saber crystal, depending on their color. Green for health, blue for force, red for a crystal. Or they can also contain costumes or experience points. Yeah, that's it. They're holocrons.
I love when collectibles in like video game franchises are something that's really important from that universe, or there's some kind of tie-in, like in the Batman games, it was the Riddler trophies.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I absolutely get what you're saying.
yeah, holocrons, for those who don't know, are ancient Jedi and Sith, like kind of like archived journals. Basically, they can also be like safes that have things inside.
Yeah, they're very complex, very difficult to make, and very cool. I mean, holocrons actually play a very important part in the Darth Bane trilogy.
Yes, they play an important part in a lot of Star Wars stuff,
No, yeah, that's true.
especially Sith stuff, because there's all secret.
Yeah. Anyway, now we'll move on to version differences. So we did this. I think the first time we did this was with the first Force Unleashed game, where this game came out on many different consoles that were good at different things, and the developers of the Force Unleashed, which is very nice that they do this, because there are some developers out there that make their game on one console and then they'll just release it on everything without really putting too much thought into the different mechanics. Something that can especially be prevalent in some Wii ports of games, like Wii and PC ports from other like console games are the most notoriously always kind of messed up from developers. I assume just not caring, which yeah, whatever. Um, so for the Force Unleashed, obviously the Wii version, yeah, they wanted to make the motion controls work as smoothly as possible, which I can't tell you if they succeeded. We played the Force Unleashed, the first one on the Wii. This game we actually played on PlayStation 3, so we did not experience the Wii version. But the Wii version contains a multiplayer mode in which up to 4 players can fight each other in an arena. Kind of similar to like Smash Brothers with how the arena works. Um,
That's really cool.
like just the map. It's not like, the whole percentage get knocked out thing. I think everyone just had health bars, but the way the arenas, the fighting maps were set out is similar to that kind of 2D brawler. Again, this was in the Wii version. I didn't know this existed until 2 days ago.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. The Wii version also contains an additional story level on Dagobah. So in the Wii version, you actually, I think it is return to Dagobah at one point. And this is why I was saying earlier I could not see for sure if Dagobah was a level or just a transition point, because it is different in the Wii version than the other consoles. Also, the Wii version contains an exclusive force power Force Rage, which acts like bullet time. Noah, do you know what bullet time is?
It slows everything down. Is that from
That is
Max
correct.
Payne?
That is also correct. Bullet time initiated in the Matrix movie, but it wasn't called bullet time at that point. But then Max Payne is what kind of made it bullet time as it is in video games. Everything slows down, correct. Also, there's a force sight power that is not included in other versions. It's only on the Wii version. I couldn't find anything that explained what that was. I assume it's probably something to do with finding collectibles. So this is a very interesting thing, Noah, where I always had the belief that the Force Unleashed on the Wii was the best version of that game. And despite not playing it, it appears the Force Unleashed 2, also the best version of that game, ironically, is on the Wii. It has the most content, and it has a versus mode.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we missed out on that.
I don't know what deal Nintendo
Yeah,
and
I want to know
LucasArts
who you
had
could
to
play
make this.
as and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's certainly very interesting. I am just shocked because I think even the first Force Unleashed game had a versus mode that was only available on the Wii. Anyway,
Yes, and it had a good amount of characters.
yes, it did. Anyway, now Noah, that's it for gameplay. It's very simple, very simple, very simple game. We move on to notable trophies. Notable trophy for this game: Arachnophobia. Destroy 200 terror spider droids. I This trophy is notable because I too am afraid of spiders.
Ah,
Yeah, that's it. The trophy list for this game was not anything.
yeah, boring.
Yeah, it was pretty boring.
And these people
I
need to
did,
step up their trophies.
yeah, I did see this trophy, arachnophobia, and thought I'm afraid of spiders. That's funny, and put it on this list.
I am
yeah,
not afraid of
just thought it was
spiders.
funny. I'm terrified of spiders, Noah.
Questions.
Yeah, what's up?
Favorite moments.
Oh, I
Noah.
thought you were gonna ask me
Well,
about my
my favorite
arachnophobia.
moment is I like the what's it called? QuickTime events.
Ah, yes,
Yeah, I
completely
just
forgot to
think
mention
the
those.
choreography for the action is done really well in these games,
Yep.
and that
Yeah,
it rings true for this one.
yeah. As I will always say, I love quick time events in games. They're one of probably the most universally hated aspects of video games. I absolutely love quick time events. Mine is using the force powers. As we said earlier, as I guess I said and Noah just kind of agreed. I think Force Unleashed 2 does force powers as of now probably better than any other Star Wars game that I have played.
Yes, but that could change here in a few months.
Yes, we'll see how if Survivor changes that. But currently, I do think Force Unleashed 2 uh, does it the best. Moving on, favorite boss battle, Noah.
You can just talk about it because we have the same one.
We have the same one, Vader. The final boss fight. I mean, it's Darth Vader, man. It's awesome. It's always fun
Oh,
to fight Darth
I'll
Vader.
say this as a mini boss before you talk about Vader, or if that's all you're gonna say. I like fighting the are they eight? I don't know what the walkers.
Oh, like the AT. I think they're ATMTs or ATSTs.
Yeah, I can't remember what their acronym is, but the two-legged ones,
Yeah,
and it goes along with the QuickTime events. Like they just have really cool sequences when he beats one of those.
yeah, those are really cool mini bosses. I agree with you.
But
Uh,
Vader absolutely takes the cake every time.
yeah, always Vader. Anyway, anything miscellaneous thing you like, Noah, that we did not talk about?
Oh, I liked being able to have a black and white lightsaber. There's very few
Yeah,
Star Wars games that have black and white as an option, so
yeah.
it's
And really,
noteworthy
I
that
mean,
they are both.
was the Force Unleashed the first to do the black, like the dark saber? Like, did they do that before Clone Wars did?
I no, I think that was present in I don't know. There was like mythos about it before.
Gotcha. Gotcha. My thing, I guess, yeah, it kind of goes without saying, being a Star Wars game, music's good. It's yeah,
I don't know.
it
Yeah, I guess it's just good Star Wars
it
music.
goes
I don't
yeah,
really have
it
an
goes.
opinion
I
on
think
it.
it goes hand in hand. I think anything Star Wars will have good music. Oh, and what we did not like about the game.
All right. Well, I did not like that the premise was the same and that the main character was a clone.
Yeah, I guess you could go. Yeah, my thing being the same. What I didn't like, I did not like the story. And even more specifically, you could say, I hated the bad ending. Yeah, as I said, this was like the first game that I beat, and I was like, man, I just didn't like that. And that really, I mean, that goes more for the story than the gameplay. I just did not like the story that much at all.
Yeah, it was
Replayability,
bad.
Noah?
Beat and delete.
Yeah, beat and delete.
I've never
Yeah, this
replayed it.
no. Like despite the force powers being better, I'd go back to the Force Unleashed one before playing this one, which I have actually done.
Agreed. And same.
Yes. Now move on to DLC. So a DLC level was released for this game in December of 2010. The level takes place during an alternate depiction of Return of the Jedi, primarily the Battle of Endor, where the remnants of the Rebel Alliance lead a desperate attack on the Empire's new battle station, the Death Star 2. Darth Vader's trusted apprentice, the Dark Starkiller clone, arrives on Endor with special orders to eliminate the Alliance's remaining leaders. Slaughtering numerous Ewoks and Rebel soldiers in his path, he arrives at the shield generator protecting the Death Star, where he kills Han Solo and Chewbacca. The Dark Apprentice then confronts Princess Leia Organa, who has been training as a Jedi after her brother Luke Skywalker's death on Hoth to fulfill his failed destiny of restoring balance to the Force. Following a fierce duel, the Dark Apprentice slays Leia. Then aboard the Death Star, the Emperor declares the Rebel Alliance defeated, then subdues Vader with Force lightning, while chastising him for resurrecting his failed apprentice as a clone, claiming he knew of Vader's plans to overthrow him using the clone from their inception. Deeming the clone too powerful to be kept alive, the Emperor orders his forces to kill him. As the Dark Apprentice meditates near Leia's corpse, he senses Star Destroyers nearby. So it's very similar to the DLC for the first Force Unleashed, where you go on Tatooine and fight, and I think you actually kill Luke Skywalker on Tatooine there, and then you have a second DLC mission in that game where you
It was on Hoth.
that's where you fight Luke Skywalker on Hoth. So yeah, it's weird. Like the DLC is kind of a follow up to the DLC of the first game,
Yeah, that
but
is
it's not
really
the same
weird.
Star Killer from the first game. I guess you could say maybe both of those. Oh, I guess you could say maybe both of those happened, but with the clone. I guess you could say like in this alternate future where I don't know. Yeah, but it is kind of a sequel to those DLC stories. And that's yeah, that's the DLC. Arguably the best level in the whole game. Noah,
That's funny.
thank you. Noah, your final thoughts on Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2?
Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2, to me, is paired with The Force Unleashed 1 and will always stand in, right now, at least my top 5 to 10 Star Wars games thus far.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think lumping it in with The Force Unleashed because it is very similar. Again, other than the I think slightly better application of the Force powers, I think the first game is better, and that's the one I'd always return to. Again, the story of this one is just like not good. I just do not like the story at all. But I
Agreed.
mean, gameplay, it's fun. If you want to kill some, go around killing some people with some lightsabers and don't have the Force Unleashed, get the Force Unleashed too. Now, Noah, it is time for the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games.
Yay!
Today, we are talking about No Straight Roads. So, how No Straight Roads works, you play as the band Bunk Bed Junction, who live in Vinyl City, a city where music can be turned into electricity. It's a pretty cool concept. You play as band members Mayday and Zook, Mayday playing guitar, Zook being the drummer. The world is dominated, kind of the city is led by NSR, who provide power, and they are all about EDM, which, if you don't know what that means electronic dance music. Bunk Bed Junction, however, feel like rock music should still be prevalent and can be a driving force for the city. And when NSR basically kicks them out and bans rock music, they decide they're going to take back and take down NSR with the power of rock. With that musical premise, how the game works, when you're kind of, I guess gameplay you could say is kind of split in two. You're one just exploring Vinyl City, the different sections of it, and then when you're in kind of your levels, your fights, trying to hijack these shows from these NSR people, uh, you typically, how levels work, you go through these kind of areas, small areas, jumping from one to the next, fighting enemies, kind of hack and slash style, and then you take on the bosses. And as these are kind of Again, the bosses work like hack and slash bosses. It's not a rhythm game really. The enemies and attacks are rhythmic, going along with the music, but it is not a rhythm game despite the very musical premise. It is, I would say, more of a hack and slash, just fighting game. And I think that's the story and the gameplay. Noah, did you like No Straight Roads? You played through it recently?
Yes, I thought this game was fine. The story and the voice acting, the writing, the music, those were all very fun aspects. It was the actual gameplay itself that I thought was lackluster. There was much to be desired. The camera controls were really poor, especially in co-op, which is how I played it. The combat, I was not a fan of the combat system, the fighting at all. I actually lost. I died so many times that it gave me God mode, and I just went through the rest of the game without even being able to be hit. So it wasn't an unpleasant experience, but it wasn't a fun game.
See, this is an unfortunate time where I have to agree with you. I think everything about the game is, I would say, great. I would say better than great. Awesome. I think the writing is good. I think the voice acting and the characters are all entertaining. I think Mayday and Zook are very fun and very funny protagonists to play as. The the premise, the story, it's all great. And then the gameplay is it just doesn't hold up to the rest of it. Yeah, the combat is very basic, and I have not beaten the game yet. I would say maybe I'm 75% of the way through, and like I still just can't grasp my mind around some of these things. Like most, I feel like kind of games, older games especially, with enemies are all kind of rhythmic. Enemies move in the same patterns. You got to learn what the patterns is. This game, just those patterns line up with the music, which sometimes is just very weird. Also, I think the biggest issue I have with combat currently is parrying, because parrying is it's a concept. It's something you can do in the game, but it just is not. It's very weird to use. Again, 75% through the game, I still have not figured out the timing very well. And I
No,
think one
that's
big
the only thing I was pretty good at.
well, I think an issue I have is that the parry button is the same as the attack button. So it's hard to like when the character always does something when I press the button, it makes me weird because I'm like I can't tell if I'm succeeding or not a lot. Uh which yeah, I mean it just kind of annoys me. Uh and then you have but it's also like I don't know how to fix that issue because every button is used, like every single button, the four face buttons, all of the shoulder buttons are all used in the game for, different purposes. So it's like you have to have that repeat. So I don't really know how it's possible to fix that.
What
Um,
I did was you can see the path of the pink attacks usually, and they're on the beats, so you can kind of tell when they're going to go. But what you do is you watch your character, they're standing still, and you hit square just as soon as the attack hits your character,
no,
not
that's what
when the attack
parrying
starts
is.
out. Jaden, it's super easy. I don't understand why you can't do it.
I don't know, man. I'm just
Like, I
kind of
did
I'm
not have
just
a
annoyed
problem
about
with
it.
parrying in this game at all.
But yeah, I mean, I love exploring the actual city itself. I think it's
Yeah, it
fun.
was
I do
beautiful.
kind of wish the map was a little bigger. But that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing is like the gameplay of it. I think the best part, if you're talking about, the gameplay that's not just exploring and you actually have to kind of do stuff, I think the best part of the game is DK West. He is a rapper. He is the brother to Zook, the main character. And a few times throughout the game, he comes up and you gotta beat him in a rap battle, which how those
DK
work.
West, DK West, he's the best. He's the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
I mean,
it's got great
in terms
music.
of the gameplay, my favorite, the music for those the rap battles are awesome, and it's the only actual gameplay section that I feel like is actually rhythm based because the fight is split into two kind of sections where you're moving. two hands along a path that has 3 lanes, and then there are obstacles coming that you have to dodge. That again, those obstacles move with the words that the people are rapping. So, and then you have to just hit him again. It's all rhythm based. Like those to me are the best action moments of the game. But again, it's like the combat's not bad. It's just everything else in the game is so good that it's just lacking to me in comparison. But I mean, it's still a really fun
All
game.
right.
Love the story.
So
Love the
that's
characters.
NSR.
Anyway, that is No Straight Roads. Noah, what is our next indie bit?
Our next indie bit is going to be Cult of the Lamb.
Oh, okay. I've heard of it. It was really popular.
I beat it. It was a great game. I
Yeah, no, I'll
expect you to
play it.
love it.
Cool, I'll play it. Yeah, I'll play it, and then I mean, I literally know nothing about it other than the fact that it was incredibly, incredibly popular when it came out.
It's half a cult managing simulator, half a rogue dungeon crawler like game.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll talk about that in 2 weeks on our next episode. Anyway, don't forget new episodes every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't. Tell us why. Tell a friend or an enemy about the podcast. And you can follow us on Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on everything we do. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros. That is one word, capital S, capital G, capital B, period at the end, where we upload videos every Friday. Our two most recent videos being parts 11 of our Mortal Kombat X playthrough and parts 11 of our Crash Bandicoot playthrough. Both of those, only one part left. Yeah, so go check those out if you like hearing our comedic banter back and forth. Yeah, anyway,
And watching
thanks.
fun games.
Yeah, I am watching fun games. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next game.
Bye.